Oh, yeah, mine have come through city email too.
Oh, I wanted to ask one question of you, Kim,
Sure.
and I'll ask the same question of Ashley. You're a planner, she's a planner, and
Oh, no,
so
man, I'm an engineer. Don't lump me in there with
engineer.
planner. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, and you said, as you said, you've had a lot of experience in this area, but I want to reconcile what you said earlier. When I look at our LDRs, or Land Development Code, under R1, it speaks of minimum lot size with septic tanks, and no city water, and it goes through that process. And it, then when we get down to minimum lot size per single-family dwelling unit with central sewer and city water, it has 43,560 feet. But the minimum lot width that I see in the R1 district is 100. So it appears to me, in reading this, so I want to ask you, how do you reconcile your
Sure.
statement that you can have in R1 zoned areas, you can have 50-foot wide lots, when I see in the code 100-foot wide lots? And so I don't, and that's under R1. We're talking
understand.
about PD,
And
plan development. So we're talking apples and oranges to some degree, but I think your statement was,
Future land use, or future land use. So once your future land use, I kind of like Commissioner Ambrose said, I call that the Bible for cities. I say that's your Bible. So our future land use is the back 20 acres is 4 dwelling units per acre, and then the front, I say like it was a really quick thing. It was a long process that Ashley wanted us to take it to a PD so that we can get some of the things that have been missing in other subdivisions, a guarantee that it would get done inside of this subdivision. So instead of us rezoning to an R3, we're rezoning to a PD, which is still an allowable use under our future land use Bible. So it's that Bible that I was specifically saying allows 15 and 4 dwelling units per acre, and then if we were to rezone to an R3, that is what allows the 40-foot, which is an allowable use under our future land use.
but if we stay, let's use the hypothetical that the city denies the rezoning from R1 to R3. Your current zoning is R1, right?
I think for the back half, I believe so. I'm not sure about the front half because the front half might be agricultural right now because it is mixed use, which is completely different future land use. So I'm not, Ashley may know, or I could pull it up real quickly on my phone, but we're not rezoning to R3, we're rezoning to a PD. If it's a no, we go away and you never see us again.
Okay. Well, I just want to make sure that I understand the rules, and that if I understand the rules, that our commissioners and mayor understands the rules. So if you are zone R1, that's your present zoning category on at least the back half.
Okay,
We have a restriction in our land development code that you have to have 100-foot lots if you're R1.
correct.
If your current zoning category is ag on another portion of the lands that your client owns, the densities are probably even less. It's 1 to 5 in that, 1 to 5 acre.
Right, and ag is kind of what I refer to as kind of a place card holding. Ag's kind of like in a holding pattern, waiting to get a formal zoning to it. We would never rezone to R1. That wouldn't be something we would do because your future land use is established probably decades before this board was here for a purpose. And having a future land use, for instance, next door, being commercial, you want something compatible and transient, for a lack of a better word. So you don't want to go from commercial. So let's just say we have apartments right next door. That's an allowable use in commercial. And then right next door to that, along your arterial road, being 441, you're going to have 100-foot wide lots. is not a good transition. So, and I think that was understood whenever who did your Bible, your future land use, put higher intensities next to the highway. And so then when you come in and rezone, you have to rezone to something that's consistent within that category. So, doing townhomes is something that would be allowed under that mixed use, and we would still have to rezone to get it out of either agricultural or the A1 or the R1 zoning district to something in a zoning district that allows multifamily. It would be allowed in the future land use, so that you're not having to take that future land use. You're not doing a comp plan amendment going to the state. So that is what's already allowed, which is what I said by development right. That's already allowed by the future land use. And so we're not exceeding that, nor are we allowed to exceed that without amending the comprehensive plan.
So to reiterate your statement, I think your point is if we were to create higher densities, we would need to do that through a straight rezoning from R1 to R3.
Correct.
That would be one avenue for you to pursue, and you're not doing that.
Which we did pursue.
Okay.
And Ashley did not like it.
Did not like it, because the density and intensity was not acceptable.
So I'll tell you this. Normally when I do a PD, and I do a lot in Central Florida, so normally when we're doing a PD, it's because we're wanting to increase density. I can honestly tell you this is the only time I'm nowhere close to the density allowed by the future land use. That is normally the give and take with a PD. They will allow us to do a higher density by giving them A, B, C, D, and E in order to get to the higher density. That is normally why we're doing. I've never had a subdivision where I didn't have to change either the comp plan or the zoning, ever. And that's normally when we do a PD, is because we're wanting something more than straight zoning allows. This is kind of the opposite, and it's not that we agreed or disagreed. We pretty much agreed with Ashley when we went over some of the other things that we had seen that had been done before that, quite frankly, is a precedent, but we agreed with her. Those weren't what we wanted our final product to be.
So the give and take, though, is that you're willing to do these other subdivision enhancements or amenities, i.e., in the commons areas, as Commissioner Ambrose said, landscaping, sidewalks, other items that will be of benefit to the PD zoning that you're seeking, and therein lies the give and take for the city. We're allowing you to go to your planned development district. You're giving us amenities that would be consistent with that. There is the give and take, correct?
It depends on how you look at it. We're not asking, usually with the give and take, we're asking for a higher density. We're not. Our density is 15 on a portion and 4. Our overall project is 3.6. So we're not asking for more intense than we're allowed by future land use. I'm not going to say we agree with being private, but we understand that the city doesn't have the budget for maintenance. So that is something that we didn't volunteer that one, but that's more to help the city, because instead of them being public streets and the maintenance being on the city, we've agreed to go ahead and do it private. So we're giving a tremendous amount for this project because we want the project to be successful, not just for our buyers, but for the city.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No further questions.
Thank you, sir.
So much for my bad voice.
So, Kevin, are they back up? Okay. Ashley, are you there?
Yeah, I was just unmuting. I'm here. I just got on.
Okay.
I didn't hear all of it all. I just heard like the tail last couple of sentences.
Okay. So, do you want to add anything to it? Or you want to do your presentation at this time, or?
The discussion that we had, Ashley, if you want me to, Ashley,
Just kind of went. Yes.
Ashley, the discussion that we had was that R1 zoning district requires 100-foot why the
She froze
rats-
again.
She's gone.
Rats.
This afternoon, I was warned this might happen and it would, and it's happening. So this is beyond our control.
So I called him.
Mr. Mayor, I think it's clear for you all at least where we're at.
Yes.
And so,
I have a question, Mr. Mayor, if I
Yes.
could, of the attorney. So the current zoning of R1 is what most of the property is. When we're talking about future land use and codes and the comp plan, does that mean that we as a city are required to rezone from R1 to this PD? Or are we able to leave it zoned as R1, 4 units per acre?
no, this is where your discretion lies. So you have to have substantial and competent evidence to make your decision, because this gets real complex. As Kim just noted, this is a complex area of municipal government, and you have a future land use map that has provisions in the comprehensive plan, which, as she said, is your Bible. That's kind of the umbrella that you're operating under. And under that, under residential zoned properties, you have certain requirements, which are, if it's R1, you have to have a 100-foot wide lot. If it's R2, we can look it up and see what that requirement is. If it's R3, I think she said it's a 40-foot wide lot. I don't dispute that. I suspect she's right. So those are your requirements under that umbrella of residential. Under the umbrella of agricultural, there are also different rules and requirements, one of which is typically that you have 1 to 5 density, meaning 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres. So she said that part of the property is currently zoned ag, part of the property is zoned R1, so that's under the umbrella now, we're dealing with the other layer, which is our land development code. Those are the requirements. Now, what she is proposing to the city is that they move from R1 over to Planned Development District, and it's a much more flexible development style that a developer can create in a subdivision and allow for, as she said, more commons areas, more amenities, and there's other things